Hey guys, so as everybody is quarantining and dealing with all that, one thing that I found that's fun to do during this crazy time is to make my very own homemade hot sauce. So I'm going to show you how to make a delicious, sweet and spicy and smoky hot sauce today. Let's do it. Hey sweetie, do you want to make a smoky hot sauce? Does that sound fun?
No.
It doesn't. Really, do you want to make hot sauce with me?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make hot sauce, or at least how I make it. And the philosophy I have is I want every ingredient to add flavor, and I don't add anything unless it has a purpose. So usually I start by thinking about the base, and so I'm going to start with tomatoes to make this sweet, spicy, smoky hot sauce. And instead of using regular tomatoes, I'm using fire roasted tomatoes from a can because we're quarantining and I'm trying to get rid of things from the pantry. So fire roasted tomato base. For the peppers, which is giving us most of the flavor, for the smoky element, I'm gonna use these Chipotles. My brother got them for me for Christmas. They're dried. They're already out of the bag. And then I'm going to also add these Casabel chilies. I've never used these before, and I don't even know if I'm saying them right, but they're these interesting little round ones. So what you do with these dried peppers is you add them to some hot water. That's at least what I do, just to soften them up. So those are the Chipotles, and then these are the other ones. And the Chipotles are a little more spicy, and then the Cascabel are a little more mild, but I want to give it a little bit more of a depth of flavor. So those are the peppers. Then for most of the hot sauces I make, I usually add garlic. So that's there. And I might add onion. We're going to taste it and see how it goes. And I might decide to add some onion if I want a little bit more flavor there. Every hot sauce I make usually has vinegar. So instead of using plain old vinegar, I'm going to use apple cider vinegar because I think it'll go well with this. I always add salt. That just brings out the flavor overall. And then I've got raisins, and I'll add those to give it some sweetness and to kind of round out the flavor. So here we go. The way I usually make my hot sauces is I like to weigh the ingredients because we're talking about kind of small quantities and things that are hard to measure with like a teaspoon or something like that. So I usually do it in grams. So I use my scale here. And then to blend it all up, I'm using a blender today. Sometimes I use a food processor or even a stick blender. Whatever you have will work okay. The way I like to do it is I add some of the ingredients like the tomatoes, but I keep a little bit set aside so that in case I need to make it a little bit less thick or a little bit less spicy or a little bit less whatever, I can add more tomatoes back later and fix it. So if you use up everything, then you don't have any way to adjust it. So that's another point. All right, so here's our tomatoes. Garlic, vinegar, raisins, onion. I'm just going to use a little bit. I didn't cut it up real nice because it's going in the blender. Here's our salt. That was too small of an amount to measure with the scale, so I use a teaspoon. And then for the peppers, I just do it by the count of how many peppers because those are also a little bit hard to measure based on the weight because they're so light. There's our Chipotles. All right, here we go. Now let's blend it up. What do you think?
Your hot sauce. Don't like.
You don't like it? Okay. All right, here's after blending. I had to blend quite a while to get those dried peppers to break up and get the particles small enough. But let's taste it. All right, here we go. I like it. It's got definitely smokiness. It's got plenty of heat, probably medium heat. And the sweetness from the raisins comes through, and then kind of balances it out with the garlic and the onion. So I'm really happy with this one. I think I'll probably put it on, definitely on meat, any kind of barbecue, burgers, things like that. So I'm excited to give it a try. Yeah, I hope you guys can give it a try too. Have fun making hot sauce, and you have my recipe there. And I'll see you next time for the next recipe.